Tactically, absolutely fascinating. When we look at the lineups here, two Turkish starlets were taking our eye. Arda Guler in this brand new role, and Yildiz for Juventus, who caused a lot of problems. We're going to talk about both. Let's start off with Arda Guler, Liez, because he was sensational today, wasn't he?
I'm absolutely loving the way he's playing right now. Honestly, he's at the heart of the midfield for Real Madrid, and it almost feels like at times everything is kind of going through him. There's moves where Real Madrid are stringing together 30 passes, and at the heart of it, Arda Guler is just getting so many touches. If we take a look at some of these clips, it's the Arda Guler show in midfield, man. And what I really think I like the most about him, we touched about this last week, is just how often he looks to split the lines and go forward. And I touched on this last week, but I don't think there's a single player in Madrid's midfield that they can call upon other than Luka Modric, who really kind of has the ingenuity and the creativeness that Arda possesses in midfield. This is a wonderful bit of trickery to kind of buy himself a yard. And I really am happy to see that he's taken this Club World Cup by storm. And I think Jules can kind of appreciate this, but it really showcases how important a manager is to a player's development. Because I want to kind of link it to Enrique and Dembele. Enrique has completely transformed Dembele's career by giving him the trust and finding a role that he can absolutely thrive in. He had a Ballon d'Or worthy campaign. And in Alonso, he's completely changed Arda Guler's fortunes, because you look at how influential he is in the team now compared to under Ancelotti, who he just really wasn't in favor with. It's night and day. And at the moment, you look at the guys who seem indispensable for this Real Madrid team. Vini, Fede Valverde, Jude. I think you can make a real big argument that Arda Guler is also in that conversation, which just a month ago seemed unthinkable.
Yeah, I think he was having a lot of fun, but he was also quite serious with it, which 100%. I liked. He's there for business. And when it comes to Alonso coming in and making a real difference, he's a player that was sort of seen as that attacking midfielder, but Alonso's able to see a different profile in him. And even that sort of new Modric role, are we sort of seeing the heir to Modric here?
Yeah, I think so. We said it before when he played there. There's clearly, in the terms of passing qualities, the way he sees the game, and okay, he's not the strongest physically, so in duels he might defensively struggle a little bit, and he will have to work on that side. Even we saw today earlier on, he got dribbled past too easily, so that will have to improve. But certainly in possession, I think he's got everything to run games, to boss that midfield, and to just impact and dictate the pace of the game.
Yeah, you were touching on maybe that from a defensive point of view, is he at that Modric level? Modric's probably a bit understated when it comes to that defensive side of it and the stamina that he's got. But I thought he got about the pitch really, really well and had a great game in terms of dictating the play for Real Madrid side. It was a game that you felt that quality was really, really high. Let's get to Yildiz then, because we're going to show you a clip right this second, all being well, and it shows how brilliant Yildiz is, but it also highlights a problem that Amir's going to reveal here. Because first of all, in terms of his awareness in that left sort of half space, and look at his quick feet here. It's absolutely gorgeous stuff to be able to have that awareness and see it and play that pass. But there was a problem at play here, wasn't there, Amir?
Yeah, you can see obviously Rudiger's been pulled out because Kolo Muani from centre forwards moved all the way out. Trent's in two minds. Does he pick up Yildiz or does he pick up Cambiasso, who's dropped off way deeper, and he kind of goes halfway? Look at the space between the centre-backs. It's 18 yards. It's a huge area. And given those movements from Juventus, Yildiz can run through those lines that in those big spaces between the centre-backs. And those spaces were really problematic for Real Madrid to deal with initially. Tchouaméni down that centre defensive position, couldn't handle that pressure that Kolo Muani was providing. And then again, followed him, but he was spun in behind, and that run that Kolo Muani made was brilliant, a big chance that he should have put away in that first minute.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been different. And to sort of illustrate what Alonso then did to change it and solve it, there was a cooling break, and then there was all the hands over the mouths, and there was notes, and there was waving, and there was pens, and then Alonso fixed it.
Yeah.
And what we've got here, we've kind of zoomed in a little bit on the pitch here, and of course, Real Madrid, you can see their defence here, and Yildiz in that position there where he's causing a lot of trouble with Kolo Muani. And as you say, we've just seen it from those clips. Kolo Muani was making life very difficult for Tchouaméni when it was just the two of them. And with Rudiger on this right-hand side, if Kolo Muani moved across as well, we saw the movement from Rudiger in terms of him moving across that double width. And so it was a bit of a problem. Yeah. So what was the solution, Amir?
Well, the solution was quite genius from Xabi Alonso, to be honest. Tchouaméni in that central centre-back position, as he started, ended up moving to that right centre-back position. And not only that, he kind of moved forward and it almost became a four at the back at times. You know, Rudiger's really strong at jumping and pressing players from that wide centre-back position. We've seen that all the way back in his Chelsea days, hence why he probably started with that. But Yildiz was causing so many problems, and Tchouaméni moving into that position allowed Xabi Alonso to, one, get him into midfield in possession, but two, have him follow Yildiz around the pitch and, you know, really nullify his influence. And we've got some clips to illustrate just how well Tchouaméni did do that and his general performance throughout the rest of the game. So, as we see, the ball goes into the middle and Rudiger applies pressure.
Look at that
against,
press there.
Yeah, against Kolo Muani, better than Tchouaméni did. They get the ball back, Real Madrid. And then again, you can see Tchouaméni now, who's moved into a midfield position in that double pivot. And it's more of a back four for Real Madrid, outlined here. So it's certainly a completely different shape in that second half from Real Madrid. There's that following movement, that man-to-man marking from Tchouaméni on Yildiz all the way to that left-hand side, which Rudiger obviously wouldn't feel comfortable doing. And then we see here, he drops back into that back line and forms a back five when Yildiz pushes up. And a minute later, Yildiz gets substituted, and that really highlights the effectiveness of that tweak for the whole game, but also nullifying one of Juventus's most strong players.
Absolutely, yeah, because it was difficult. It was a bit awkward. And they had 4 shots in the first 23 minutes. And then after that, only 2 shots. So this is Alonso really kind of putting his imprint on this team, seeing problems, creating solutions. And then from there, what's really nice, Jules, is the balance of this team going forward. Both Bellingham and Valverde have looked really, really good here. And so, as you can see, the lineups in front of you again, this is Real Madrid in possession. And one thing that they did that was really, really nice was that they would sort of move the team over to one side of the pitch. Why was this so important, Jules? And why did this sort of facilitate both Trent, Valverde and Bellingham?
So out of possession, we've just explained, they found a solution. With the ball now, Alonso explained after the game that he felt Juventus were very compact and preventing Real Madrid from playing the way they wanted. So they basically wanted to attract as many Juventus players as they could on one side, as you see there, you highlighted on that left-hand side, if you want, from the attacking side of Real Madrid, to exactly there, as many Juventus players and, to some extent, Real Madrid players, to then be able to switch the ball completely on the other side for Trent and Valverde or Trent and Bellingham to have a bit of space, a bit of freedom there, and to do the damage on that side, being isolated in a way, 1v1 or 2v2, which is something that we also saw Xabi Alonso's Bayern Leverkusen doing the last 2 seasons, really, with Wirtz and Xhaka or wide players, Grimaldo, Frimpong, doing like that. And that worked a treat.
It did, and it gave him real options, because you've got Valverde who could kind of underlap and use that space there and support, or overlap as well. And then in terms of just swapping the two, because both sort of dovetailed, didn't they? Bellingham could go and do it as well. And then you've got Valverde with the ability to get forward. We're going to look at that in a second. But Bellingham, if he was over there, could also make that run into the box and had some moments in the game as well. And, of course, as we saw from the goal, Trent able to make that cross for someone like Garcia, who's great in the box as well. But Valverde, the captain, leader legend, his numbers are going to go up. He looks really good, and he's been able to enjoy himself in a new way, because there's such a balance to what's being offered from him now.
Yeah, balance, and to be very complementary with Bellingham, with Trent, and this is clicking a little bit. And we will see on the clips an incredible game again for Valverde. We know he's a wonderful player, but when he's able to basically be everywhere and do everything. You see them, he realizes where the space was, make that run, then finds Bellingham again, who really should do better and probably score. Here he is again, circle, you can see, everybody on the left-hand side. What does that leave him? He could shoot, or he could play the ball to Trent on the other side. This is a wonderful ball for Vinicius, and really, we talked about the Guler show earlier, it was a bit of the Valverde show tonight too, and he's at the start of it, he's at the end of it, he creates, he recovers the ball. You see him, he's been running for 60 yards, he's again in the box, and that stamina that he has, he tries the overhead kick, which in the middle of 4 Juventus players is a wonderful piece of skills, really. And again, he's there, he can turn, and I guess by then Juventus were a little bit all over the place and gave him far too much freedom, like for Guler, like for other players, Vinicius too. But that's the 89th minute, just before he's coming off. And by then he's playing on the right-hand side after all the substitutions from Alonso, and he's still able to run and get a corner. A wonderful performance again from him.
And I think with Fede as well too, he almost allows you to kind of shift in between systems and formations at will because of how many different roles he can kind of play. He can play as a right winger, he can play in a 3, he can play in a 2. He is, for me, the most versatile midfielder in the world. And you see some of those shots as well, too. Yeah. Can anyone strike a ball purer than Fede Valverde?
It's close, and we were talking about Marmoush, maybe that kind of player as well. But yeah, Kai, our producer, always says that Valverde strikes the ball like he hates it. Yeah. And I think that's absolutely spot